Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going to be looking at a book called Mode 1, Let the Women Know What You're Really Thinking.
Okay.
It's by Alan Roger Currie. And yeah, at first glance, you might think, oh, this is, another dating book, right?
Right.
But it's actually much more than that. It's really about communication styles and being upfront and honest about your desires, and especially with women.
And what's really fascinating is how Currie argues that most men, they actually want to be more direct. Like they want to be upfront, but they let fear kind of hold them back.
Oh, totally. And I think we all can relate to that, like on some level, right?
Yeah.
You see someone you're interested in, but instead of just expressing that interest, you kind of like overthink it and, you get in your head.
You start playing games.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Have you ever felt that way? Like you psych yourself out of just being straightforward.
Absolutely.
Right.
And that's where I think Currie's framework of the 4 modes of communication really comes in handy.
Okay, so let's talk about these 4 modes. What is it that makes mode 1, which Currie champions, so special and so different?
So mode 1 is all about honesty and confidence. It's about knowing what you want and then expressing it directly. No beating around the bush, just putting it out there.
So it's the opposite of playing hard to get.
Exactly. It's about cutting through the games and being your authentic self.
I love that.
Yeah.
So how do the other modes stack up?
So mode 2 is kind of like the nice guy approach. Currie calls them the pleasant postponers.
Oh, okay.
So they're honest, they're good guys, but they're overly cautious and indirect.
Uh-huh.
So they might hint at their interest, but they never really fully express it, and they kind of just wait for the perfect moment that never really comes.
Oh, I can see how that'd be so frustrating for everyone involved.
Definitely. It can lead to a lot of wasted time and missed opportunities. Now, mode 3 is where things get a bit trickier. This is where you see manipulation and pretense coming into play.
Oh, okay.
Currie highlights 2 types in mode 3. You've got the timids, who lack courage, and then you've got the targets who rely on wealth and status to attract women.
Oh, yeah. I've seen the target type. It's almost like they're trying to buy affection, which never really works in the long run, does it?
Rarely. Genuine connection can't be bought.
Exactly.
And then there's mode 4, which is honesty, but it's fueled by anger.
Oh.
And these are the guys that Currie calls misogynistic revenge seekers.
Wow. Okay, that sounds intense.
It is. And you know what? What leads someone to become a mode 4 is often being hurt or feeling manipulated in the past, maybe by those modes 2 or 3.
So it's like almost a defense mechanism.
Exactly. But here's the thing. Mode 4 is often a reaction to not being true to yourself from the beginning.
Okay.
That underlying anger, a lot of times it's actually directed at yourself for not being mode 1 in the first place.
That is so insightful.
Yeah.
Wow.
So let's delve a little deeper into this idea of mode 1. Why does Currie believe that it's the most effective, especially when it comes to dating?
Yeah, what's so special about it?
Well, he actually shares a personal anecdote in the book that I think was a real turning point for him. So he decided to just experiment with this mode 1 approach, and he straight up told a woman he was interested in having casual sex with her.
Wow, okay, just like right out of the gate.
Yeah, right up front. And her initial reaction? Shock.
I can only imagine.
But then he stood his ground. He didn't back down or apologize.
Yeah.
And things shifted.
Really? She was open to it?
She was. And that really solidified for him. Like that experience, it really showed him the power of this mode 1 approach. It challenged all these assumptions he had about how women respond to directness. It's not about being crude or disrespectful. It's about being genuine and confident in expressing what you want.
It's interesting because it makes you wonder if those traditional dating scripts where men are expected to play it cool, you know,
Right.
if that's actually hindering genuine connection from forming.
Totally. And I think mode 1 acknowledges that we all have needs and desires. And being upfront about yours can actually be more respectful than pretending that you don't have any ulterior motives.
So it's not just about getting what you want, but it's also about creating a more honest and authentic dynamic in the interaction.
Exactly. It's creating a space where both people can just be real with each other and see if there's genuine compatibility there.
I love that.
Yeah.
Now, have you ever felt like that pressure, I guess, especially like when you were younger or whatever, to play it cool even when you were really interested in someone?
Absolutely.
I think we've all been there, right?
Yeah, we've all been there. But what Currie argues is that playing it cool often backfires.
Yeah.
It creates that artificial distance.
Right.
And it can actually prevent that genuine connection from forming. Think about it. Like the movies you love, the ones that have the most tension and excitement, Those are the ones where the characters are upfront about their desires, even if it leads to conflict.
It's a great analogy. And you know what? I'm already starting to see how this mode 1 approach could apply to so much more than just dating. It's really about being your authentic self, even when it feels a little bit risky, right?
Totally. It's about trusting that your true self is worthy of love and connection, and it all starts with being honest with yourself and the people that you're interested in.
This is giving me so much to think about. What stands out to you about these different modes of communication that we've talked about so far?
I think.
We'll be right back to unpack some more of Currie's key principles for putting mode 1 into practice. Welcome back to the deep dive. We're really getting into Alan Roger Currie's mode 1 communication, and like we were saying, it's not just about, getting dates or whatever. It's like a whole mindset shift.
Yeah, it really is about personal empowerment.
Yeah.
And Currie, he outlines these 7 key principles for developing this strength.
Okay.
We don't have time to go through all of them, but I think we can touch on a few that'll really resonate.
Okay, awesome. So give me a principle. What's one that really stands out to you? What really captures this whole mode 1 way of thinking?
Okay, how about this one? Maintain a healthy level of egotistical indifference.
Ooh, okay, that's a mouthful.
It is.
But also, it's a little counterintuitive, isn't it? Because we're talking about being confident and expressing your interest, but then also being indifferent.
Yeah, and I think it's not about being indifferent to the person, but rather to the outcome.
Okay.
So it's like you go up to someone, you express your interest, and they're not interested back. A mode 1 guy doesn't let that crush his ego.
So it's about detaching from needing that validation from the other person.
Exactly.
Okay.
You're not putting your self-worth on the line every time you interact with somebody.
I love that. So it's like not being aloof or uncaring,
Right.
but it's about having that inner strength where hey, you know what? If this doesn't work out, it's okay.
Exactly. And that confidence, that's really attractive because people can sense when you're not desperately seeking their approval.
Totally.
So you can be more relaxed, more genuine, more present.
It's like that saying, right? Act like you've been there before.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Right.
And another principle that I think is really powerful is never place any woman on a pedestal. Always treat women you've just met as if they are just one of many women who you're considering dating or having sex with.
I can already hear the people listening being like, whoa, hold on. Isn't that kind of disrespectful?
Yeah.
But I think I see where he's going with this.
Yeah. And again, he's not saying to treat women poorly.
Right.
But it's about avoiding putting them on a pedestal. Because I think when you idolize someone, you kind of lose sight of yourself.
Yes.
You become so focused on trying to impress them that you lose your authenticity.
You know what? I've definitely done that. I remember when I was younger, if I was attracted to a woman, I would just get so nervous and overthink everything I was saying.
Yeah.
And it never really went well.
It's so relatable. And that's what Currie's trying to help guys avoid. He's basically saying, hey, remember, you have value too. You're not just trying to win someone over. You're trying to see if there's a genuine connection.
Yeah, it's about approaching dating with a sense of abundance rather than scarcity.
Absolutely.
Oh.
It's like there are plenty of amazing people out there, and if this particular person isn't the one, it's okay.
It's not the end of the world.
Right.
Yes.
And think about it from the other person's perspective. Who are you more drawn to? Someone who's completely obsessed with you, or someone who has their own life, their own passions, their own sense of self?
Yeah, that makes sense. So it all comes back to that confidence again.
Yeah, it does. And here's another principle that might be a little controversial, but I think it's worth considering. Never go out of your way to wine and dine a woman too quickly, or offer her a variety of monetary and/or materialistic gifts when you're just starting to get to know her.
This is a tough one because it's kind of like challenging, I think, some deep-seated ideas about romance.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Isn't it romantic to, take someone out for a nice dinner?
I think it can be.
Yeah.
But Currie's point is that showering someone with gifts and, fancy dinners too early on can actually kind of undermine genuine attraction.
Because it makes it feel transactional.
Right.
Like you're trying to buy their affection.
Exactly.
Instead of earning it.
Right. And it can attract the wrong kind of person.
Okay.
Someone who's genuinely interested in you, for you, is going to be more excited about your personality, your sense of humor, your values, not by how much you spend on them.
Yeah. It's about building that genuine connection, not about trying to impress someone with what you can buy them.
Totally. And imagine if you're applying this principle to like a work presentation, right? You're not going to go in there and just shower your colleagues with gifts.
Right.
You'd focus on the strength of your ideas, your preparation, your ability to communicate effectively.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's another one?
How about this? As much as possible, always avoid trivial, inconsequential small talk and/or entertaining but non-purposeful conversation.
Oh, man. This is one that I struggle with.
Yeah.
Small talk feels like it's so ingrained in us. Like, you meet someone new, you're like, oh, hey, how's the weather?
Look, a default, right?
It is.
Yeah.
But I can see what he's saying.
It can be a waste of time, and it can hinder deeper connection.
Right.
If all you're talking about is the weather or like sports scores, are you really getting to know that person?
Yeah, it's very surface level.
Exactly.
Okay.
So instead, try asking open-ended questions.
Okay.
Share stories, express your thoughts and feelings, be present, be engaged, and have a purpose in your conversations.
So be intentional with your words.
Yes.
Even in casual conversation.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. Now, what about that last principle about self-esteem? I feel like that's so important, especially today.
It is. And Currie's last principle is, never allow your sense of confidence and self-esteem to be based on external extrinsic factors, such as wealth, material possessions, or career and educational achievements.
Yeah, and that is so hard, especially with social media.
Right.
You're constantly bombarded with these images of people who are successful, but it's all based on external stuff.
It's easy to compare ourselves to others and feel inadequate.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But true confidence, it comes from within. It's about recognizing your inherent worth as a person, regardless of your achievements or possessions.
It's about shifting your focus from what you have to who you are.
Exactly. And think about it. We've all met people who are incredibly successful on paper, but deeply unhappy.
Right.
And then we've met people who may not have a lot materially, but they just radiate this joy and this confidence because they're living in alignment with their values.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
That's the kind of confidence that I think is truly attractive.
It is, because that's true fulfillment, right?
Yeah. That's where it comes from. It comes from within, not from seeking that external validation.
Yeah, that's good stuff. So as we're wrapping up this part of our deep dive, I want to encourage our listeners to think about these principles.
Yes.
And how they can apply to their own lives. Where are you placing your worth?
Right.
Are you communicating your needs and desires honestly? Are you letting your true self shine through?
I love that.
We'll be right back to explore how Mode 1 can help you attract the right people and build those authentic relationships. Welcome back to the deep dive. We've been talking about Alan Roger Currie's concept of Mode 1 communication, being direct and honest about what you want.
And, it's about cutting through those games and being your authentic self.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But let's be real for a second. Not everyone's going to love this approach, right? Not everyone is going to be thrilled with this newfound honesty and directness.
Totally.
Currie talks about two types of women in particular who tend to react negatively to Mode 1, wholesome pretenders and erotic hypocrites. And I want to be clear here, we're not saying that all women fit into these categories, but it's just about understanding that some people are more comfortable with those, like traditional dating games, and they might be thrown off by a more upfront, direct approach.
Right. It's not about putting labels on people. It's just recognizing that certain communication styles can clash.
Totally. So let's say you meet a wholesome pretender. She's cultivating this image of innocence, being chaste and all that. But privately, she's actually quite open to casual encounters.
So she's got this kind of double life going on.
Exactly. So why would a Mode 1 guy be a threat to her?
Because he's not playing along with the facade.
Exactly. He's not buying into it. He's calling her bluff by being upfront about his own desires. And that can be really unsettling for someone who's built a whole persona around being like the good girl.
Right. It exposes that gap between her public image and her private desires. And that can cause a lot of discomfort.
Yeah, for sure. Now, the erotic hypocrite, on the other hand, is all about the chase. She loves the attention. She loves the gifts,
Yeah.
the fancy dates.
Yeah, she wants to be wined and dined and made to feel special.
Exactly. But Mode 1 guy is not going to play that game, is he?
He's not interested in buying affection or participating in all those rituals.
Oh, yeah.
He's looking for that genuine connection. He's not looking for a transaction.
Exactly. And so that's where the erotic hypocrite gets frustrated.
Yeah.
Because she's used to men jumping through hoops to win her over.
Right. She expects it.
And the Mode 1 guy is just like, no, not doing that,
Yeah.
What I find really fascinating is that both of these types are seeking validation in their own way.
Hmm.
You know, the wholesome pretender wants that validation for her good girl image. The erotic hypocrite wants to be validated for her attractiveness and, being desirable.
Right.
But the mode one guy is basically saying, my validation comes from me. I know what I'm worth. I'm not playing games to prove it to anyone.
And that inner confidence, it can be really attractive to the right people.
Absolutely. Because it filters out those who are not compatible
Yeah.
and attracts those who value that authenticity and that directness.
Totally.
So, for our listener out there who is maybe thinking, okay, this sounds interesting, but I'm a little nervous to actually try it, what would you say to encourage them?
I'd say think about the relationships you admire, the ones that seem the healthiest, happiest, the most fulfilling. I bet you'll find that they're all built on honesty, respect, and clear communication.
Exactly.
And that's what Mode 1 is all about.
Totally. It doesn't guarantee you'll never be rejected or you'll never have your heart broken.
Right.
But it does increase your chances of finding those people who are really on the same page.
Yeah.
It's about aligning your actions with your desires and creating a space for those genuine connections to really grow. And you know what? This isn't even just about romantic relationships. You can apply these principles to your friendships, your family relationships, your work life.
Oh, absolutely. Imagine, being able to express your ideas confidently in a meeting or set healthy boundaries with colleagues or just advocate for yourself in a negotiation. I mean, Mode 1 can really empower you in all these areas.
It's recognizing that your voice matters, that your desires matter, and that you deserve to be in relationships of all kinds where those things are respected and honored.
Yeah, it's about embracing your worth and trusting that the right people will appreciate that.
Beautifully said. So to wrap up our deep dive into Mode 1, we just encourage you to think about what resonated with you. What area of your life could benefit from a little more honesty, a little more confidence, a little more you. It might feel uncomfortable to step outside of those familiar social scripts, but we think that the rewards of being your authentic self are worth the risk. Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.
Hey, if you made it to the end of the video, thanks so much for listening. If you want to get the book for yourself, use the link in the description. If you're looking to level up your income, schedule a one-on-one with me to see if what I do might be right for you. Remember, like if you like the content and share so we can all become more book buff and life smart.